It's like being trapped for 2 hours with everyone you ever blocked on Facebook. Ari Aster's new movie, Eddington.
2.5 hours, actually. Let's
Yeah,
be specific.
good point.
Let's be
Good
as
point.
accurate as possible. It is 2.5 hours, and it feels like all of 2.5 hours. And yeah, it's going to be very, very divisive, as Ari Aster films tend to be, but this seems geared even more so for that to be the case. So subscribe and hang out. We're early on this. This film opens on July 18th, this upcoming Friday, but we wanted to get to it as soon as we could, even though I'm on vacation. So if you hear some noise, that's the lobby of the hotel where we're staying in Montreal. So, but great to be here with you. So come and hang out with us.
I'm running for mayor.
You can't keep your own office going, but you're going to run mine. They're your streets to keep safe.
Okay, this is a non-spoiler review because things do indeed happen in this movie that we would like you to discover for yourselves. This is his follow-up to Beau Is Afraid. And people have asked in the comments of our Out of the Theater reaction to this film, do you like his movies? Did you like Beau Is Afraid? Suggesting that would be a good indication of like how to feel about this one. I love Hereditary. I love Midsummer. I liked the first hour of the 3-hour Beau Is Afraid. I like pretty much none of this, but we'll get into that. It takes place in the fictional small town of Eddington, New Mexico in the summer of 2020. So we are early days pandemic here, and we're also about to go into the Black Lives Matter protests. And this is sort of like too soon and too late all at the same time. Like, I don't want to go back and revisit that time where people were like all worked up about whether to wear a mask at the grocery store. Like, I don't want to go back there. And this is where he lingers. And so we have this small town where Joaquin Phoenix, who is a star of Beau Is Afraid, is the sheriff. His name is Joe Cross. Pedro Pascal plays the mayor, who is up for re-election and seems more progressive and is trying to bring like big tech to this small town to try to revitalize it and use it as a stepping stone to obvious greater political ambitions here. Joaquin Phoenix is married to Emma Stone, a criminally underused Emma Stone. We will get to that as well. Emma Stone's mom is Deirdre O'Connell, who also lives with them. And Austin Butler is like a YouTube evangelist, like a cult figure who is gaining a popularity because he's Austin Butler. He's Elvis. He's a charismatic guy. And so it is the increasing tension in this town of people on either side of this ideological divide as far as how we should live our lives in the scary and uncertain early days and months of the pandemic. And then these, George Floyd is killed, and those protests that occurred in larger cities across America come to Eddington. And I guess what Ari Aster is trying to say with all of this totally obvious stuff here is that we were a divided country and we are still a divided country. And this city is a microcosm of that, but he has nothing insightful to say within the depiction of that. It is as it was. We are still polarized more than ever, actually. And I don't know that there's any wit or wisdom or insight. If it's satire, it is bludgeoning you over the head with it. And it is incredibly obvious. And I just found this really frustrating and dull.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give him this. I think, he's good at sort of summoning the anxiety of that moment of, just remembering how miserable it was and how depressing it was and how divisive it was, and so on that level, I was like, okay, I get what you're doing here. And yeah, do I want to relive this? No, but are you giving it to me? I mean, sure, to an extent. But the longer this movie goes and as it drags along, like, yeah, every political viewpoint expressed in the film is both bolstered and undercut, which sort of just leads to a big pot of nothing. Like, so basically, what, everyone's an idiot? Great, and then as you say, yeah, it's so overdone and overblown. The Joaquin Phoenix character just sort of is like kind of trying to come into his own as a figure of power, but at the same time kind of spinning out of control, both, personally and professionally. And the movie says everything that it has to say and then just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. And it just, by the end of it, it like the lockdown itself, I just like, will this ever be over? So yeah, I think, I admire what they're trying to do here. This is certainly, I think, subject matter that is going to be of interest in the culture for decades to come. I think the lockdown revealed a lot about how we live in this country, and obviously different countries have their own take on it. Other countries handle things differently and better in some cases than the US did. But this movie, yeah, I don't know if there's not enough remove yet, or if he's not clear what he wants to say, or if what he wants to say is just so incredibly acrid that there's there's nothing to be gleaned from it. But yeah, this is just really a drag.
Yeah, and if he's trying to conflate the reactionary anti-mask, anti-vax people with the very progressive, like self-flagellating white people who took to the streets, to fight for justice after all the, the racially motivated violence that we saw bubbling up in our country. If you're trying to say that they're the same, they're not. And that is a shocking lack of nuance and insight. Like, it just seems throwing up your hands like, oh, everyone's stupid, everyone's awful, and like both siding issues that are way more complicated than that.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is the kind of movie that thinks that people talking about the idea of stolen land is like a running joke, and it's just kind of like, and every so often, like, the movie will then, I don't want to get into spoilers here, obviously, but there are moments where it's sort of like, it's that thing of, do you have people in your life who never want to talk politics because they go immediately to the place of, well, everyone's corrupt and everyone's, out for themselves, and so why bother? Which is a mode of thinking that has been designed to make people tune out and not get involved and not do anything and feel helpless. Exactly. Because ultimately, what's the point? Why bother? And this is such the why bother movie, because everything that seems like it would be too ridiculous or too extreme or antithetical to the morale, not the morals or the tenets that characters have, they're perfectly willing to embrace at some point. And so, yeah, it's just, it's a big stew pot of people failing and people being hypocrites. And it's like, okay. And
yeah. Also, you mentioned the anxiety that we so frequently see in Ari Aster movies. I mean, like, that's the place where they get interesting usually. Like, when he goes into dangerous places where you're holding your breath, like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? Right. I disagree that the anxiety is as precise here as it is in his best work. It all just feels kind of sloppy and repetitive. And maybe that first Black Lives Matter protest has some tension to it. The score helps greatly with that. There's sort of like a discordant score going on here, which helps a lot. But for the most part, I didn't feel anything like that first hour of Beau Is Afraid, for example, where it just feels like clockwork as far as one thing building on another. This just feels like a sprawl of chaos.
Yeah, it is, I think, a real letdown for a filmmaker who, I don't consistently love, but who I think is always taking big swings. And I mean, arguably this is a big swing, but I think this is his least successful one to date.
Yeah, I like Deirdre O'Connell in this as Emma Stone's mom. She was so great as the Penguin's mom on The Penguin. She's very good in that. Ma Cobblepot. But Emma Stone gets like nothing to do here. She is morose for reasons that the film explains eventually. But it just feels like she's like, there's so much more that she is good at. And she is good at going to dangerous, weird places. And an Ari Aster film seems like a thing that would be a good fit for that instinct. And it just lets her sit there.
I kind of feel like genuinely dangerous satire would be to give us characters that are relatable and realistic, because I think a lot of people failed in various ways when it came to dealing with the pandemic and creating policy that made sense and like getting people on board for things. But everything and everyone is such a cartoon here that it's toothless.
Yeah. Every once in a while, there's something that maybe kind of giggle a little, like a TikTok or a YouTube video. Like, oh, right, I remember that. That was a thing people did back then to pass the time. And but even that just feels like like a chuckle of recognition. Like, oh yeah,
Right.
I know that. But there's no insight into that. It's just recreating a thing that happened.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna say like a 3.
Yeah, I'm at about a 3.3 on this one. It's one of the year's bigger disappointments so far, I think.
Even lovely, sweet Pedro Pascal can't fix this. This is how you know it's terrible.
Yeah.
Anyway, Eddington's coming out this weekend. A lot of you guys are Ari Aster fans out there. Will you see this? Let us know.